All right, 36 days on, the 6 boys abducted from the Lagos State Model College are yet to regain their freedom.
The big question is, when will they be home? The parents have been asking, Nigerians are asking, when will they reunite with their families and parents? Joining us in the studio is the National Coordinator, Education Rights Campaign, Hassan Taiwo. You're welcome to the program this morning. I remember we've had you on this program before. We've talked about this.
Just 15 days ago.
Exactly. And we're still counting. We hope not to count again. But at this level we are right now, we remember the days of the Chibok girls where there was bring back our girls to put pressure on the government one way or the other. Are we seeing something like that again to say, okay, there has to be some form of a campaign, a coordinated campaign to put pressure on government here?
Definitely. This morning, the next few hours, we'll be having a meeting of civil society organizations, trade unions, youth groups, to discuss the kidnap, and decide on activities to put pressure on the government and to ask the security agencies questions, because it's just too long, 36 days. And the questions we want to ask is that, if these 6 secondary school students were to be children of highly placed people in this country, would they be there for 36 days? Would the government have found ways of rescuing them alive and safe? So by this morning, we'll be finding out. So the ERC is taking that step, mobilizing Nigerians to begin to ask questions, because we must not allow a situation where human lives become so unimportant to government and politicians that 6 kids can be missing and the government of Lagos State is going on as if nothing really is happening. I challenge anybody. No visitor can enter Lagos State today and know that that kind of mishap occurred in the state. We have examples of other countries where just a single individual goes missing. And all over the world, the news on a daily basis, government trying to take actions, even if they are not doing anything.
But is it fair to conclude, really, that government and security operatives are not doing anything? They've been asking everybody involved, everybody concerned at some level or the other to be calm because they're doing, things in the background not to jeopardize the situation of these kids. Well, according to them, they actually know where these kids are or may be located, but they don't want to jeopardize their lives.
It should be appropriate for any parent, any Nigerian, to begin to feel uneasy, about the claims of the police that they are on top of the situation. Because you need to ask a question. If they were now not on top of the situation, how many days would these children be missing? Because if they're on top and over 1 month after, we have no traces. Yes, they may be doing something. But the government of Lagos State was elected to produce results. The security agencies are also there to produce results to safeguard the lives and properties of Nigerians. We need to see the results. They should show us results.
Can one really absolve the school authorities themselves? Of course, you can't blame government. It's their job to provide security. But the child rights law and executive order on safeguarding and child protection policy, should it be, should it even demand that the school authorities themselves should provide security, adequate security for schools, especially in a situation where it has happened over and over again?
Yes, and it also boils down to the government. I completely agree that after these children are rescued alive, and I hope they are, there must be a public inquiry, one, into the cause of this particular incident, but also into the rising spate of kidnapping, criminalities in society, not just in Lagos, but across Nigeria, with a view to finding the solutions. Don't forget one thing, that when we celebrated 50 years anniversary of the state the other day,
Lagos at 50.
Lagos State. One of the success stories, the so-called security infrastructure, architecture to safeguard lives and property. But as a question, you can buy 100 armored tanks, guns for police, but where ordinary policeman is receiving poor pay, then
is that really on the table of Lagos State government? Because the point there is, to be fair, all the 36 states in the Federation of Nigeria, Lagos State is still the one investing most in security, and it is visible when it comes to that. So would it not be fair to say, Lagos, you have tried when it comes to investing in security?
It's the same point I'm making. Visible does not mean effective. Security insecurity rather, is a symptom of a social crisis. We are not talking of Evans, the kidnapper. We are talking of elements in the creeks who have taken to the business of kidnapping just any Lagosian they see. In fact, if you look at the story of the Ekpe school kidnap, they went to the school without a foreknowledge of who is who. It was when they picked the keys that they now began finding out what does your parent do for a living, in order to know who can pay a ransom, which was why I think 4 of them were released before the rest were taken away. So we have a situation where some monsters are preying on the rest of us. And the point I'm making is that we must ask a question after this, we find the keys, that why is this happening? And I say the Lagos State government, the federal government, the government of the 36 states are all responsible. When you make people unemployed, 40 million youth unemployed in the country, and you think that there will be peace? Have you ever seen a situation where somebody is hungry and he dies willingly? Any hungry man will find every means of survival. And when we take society to a situation where hungry people, unemployed people, begins to find their own means to survive, then there is no way we will do without this kind of thing. We are talking of Bado Court in Korodu. Have you forgotten the Awawa boys in Agege, the 1 million boys in Ajegunle? We have also had same situations in Oyo State in Ibadan. Street courtism is a menace in the southeast. We have a social time bomb because the ruling elite have failed to plan for the youth. They have looted the treasury. They have sold their wealth to themselves, and they have turned the force to
the same ruling elites that you talk about have been fingered. You know, some people are actually saying, whether in the case of Bado or the other kidnappers, that there may be some political bigwigs, you know, behind them who are really supporting them, not only asking them to go out there, but actually equipping them.
It is possible. Don't forget one thing, that there is no single Catholic politician in this country that is not guilty of arming youth during elections. During campaigns, they distribute arms all around. They have no means of recovering those arms after election.
But you might still find some good politicians in the country
who do not use arms. No doubt about that.
Let's mention who did not rig elections, who did not arm youth, because the only way you can know who did not do all of those things is if in government that person is trying to implement pro-people policies. Election has become a means for making money in this country. It's a business, so that when people put in money, they hope to recoup the investment. Don't let us forget the issue we are discussing, the question of kidnapping of those 6 school students. I'm calling on all Nigerians, all Lagosians, to rise up and begin to ask these questions. Yes, we must give it to the men of the Nigerian police and other security agencies. They are working in a very difficult situation, but we need results. And we are also calling on the government not just to prioritize on buying arms and other so-called security infrastructures. A policeman with a gun in an armored tank receiving poor pay is just an armed bandit. He himself could become a threat to our collective security. So that what we need, and that's why you see the case of Evans, the kidnapper, the fact that many security agents, including a soldier, was involved. And I say that if they continue to beam the searchlight on that case, and I know they will not do it, they will find more highly placed Nigerians, police officers in the highest hierarchy.
It's interesting. It's interesting you actually point that out, because do you have concerns that there may be a possibility of some kind of insider operation going on here, especially in the case of this Igbonla Model College? Of course, there was another letter sent to another model college
in Badagry.
In Badagry. And some of the parents actually, you know, expressed fears that there might be some kind of insider information going on.
Criminality itself is it's a complete business. If you go back to Evan's story, that's different department, the informants, those who don't even want to do arms, who don't even know what the information is all about. All they just need to do is to call somebody and say, there is something here. And those who would figure out what to do will figure it out. Yes, that is possible. It's possible that within the schools that there are informants. But we need to ask ourselves one question. Do you think that crime is a natural thing? That somebody is born to become a criminal? Because when they talk about corruption in the civil service and co, they create the impression. But I say that when government create the basis for people to cut corners.
So fighting kidnapping, fighting armed robbery, and all the rest of them is fighting the symptoms? Is that what you're saying?
First and foremost, to rescue the kidnapped children, the security agencies and police must work effectively for that purpose. But how are we going to ensure that another
one doesn't happen
again? But even in the midst of this generally, there's also the question of, because you were saying that questions have to be asked. Now, in the case where the security agencies are working, how much of what they're doing should the public know? Well, that's a big question there.
How much? To the extent that it does not affect their efforts.
It doesn't jeopardize their rescue efforts.
Nobody should create the impression that security is a court that nobody can know. All of us are in this country now. The world itself is a global village. Don't we see the management of disasters and emergencies in other countries? Hourly news, bulletins, police authorities updating the public about what is happening without necessarily jeopardizing. See, when somebody begins to create, to shroud something in unnecessary secrecy, it's possibly an indication that nothing is being done.
Is it not the society itself? Is it not the society itself that is actually, shrouding and covering these people and protecting them and not giving the required information or intelligence to security operators?
I've never been to the creeks, but if my understanding of creeks, because when you look at the rest of Lagos, poor Lagos, and then you try to figure out how the creeks will look like, you will understand that those areas are areas that are complete lack of governance, complete lack of security, complete
lack of
absence of the state, which is the same situation you have in the northeast. There were some hunters in the Sambisa forest who were interviewed who said, well, sometimes they see soldiers, sometimes they see some other people carrying arms. They just know that when they see all the different group of people they see, they often carry arms. They don't know which is which. And since they don't disturb them, they also go about with their hunting. It speaks to the fact that our chicken is coming home to roast. When the government decides to develop just one part, you abandon the rest. When situations like this happens, that's when you feel it. Because citizenship isn't just by that letter in the country that says you are a citizen. It's a question of government knows I'm here. Government provides this for me. That's when I also feel that sense of responsibility. So let us be clear about it. The Lagos State, this is on the head of Governor Ambode. Yes, you are doing infrastructure, roads and co. Whatever. Lives, those 6 children, if they are not found, to the extent they are not found, it becomes a stain on that government. And we are asking that the government also must begin to take steps to reverse its policies that is causing desperation among people. When you demolish people's homes, when you dispossess them of their means of livelihood, you are creating more army of kidnappers and criminals in society.
All right. There's also the issue of the area where some of these kidnapped victims are kept or are held. Sometimes they are in the neighborhood of some villages or homes. What is the role of people who live in? Because we've
that's my point exactly.
Because the point there is we see these things sometimes. The people know something is going on here and they are not reporting.
We will continue to
and they're not benefiting from it.
The best we can do is to appeal to all Nigerians, especially because those children are not children of highly placed people. They are children of ordinary Nigerians. They have no reason to be kidnappers then, except that the government failed to provide for their safety. So that our appeal to them will be that if anybody sees anything that is amiss or that could lead to the rescue of these children, they should provide security agencies with this information and also follow up to ensure that the informations are acted upon. Because ultimately, the parents and the relatives those children, you cannot imagine the kind of pain and anguish they are in now for the past 36 days. And the ultimate rescue of those children, safe and sound, is what can put to rest this entire saga. But when all is said and done, we need to return back to the fundamentals. We must give jobs to the youth. We must provide a governance that takes care of ordinary people, poor people, disadvantaged. Not this mega city that tries to develop for some people while the rest are abandoned. If we continue to do that, criminality will continue to follow this country, this society.
How long can we continue to tackle the symptoms rather than actually, tackle the disease
the cause itself?
Of course, like we hear, the parents have abandoned their fate to God, as it were. Now, latest reports say that the kidnappers have relocated the kids to somewhere else because of security concerns. And the question you want to ask, whose security now?
Exactly.
Their own security.
Their own security.
Obviously, it's their own security. And like you said, these are children of indigent parents. Why on earth would these people insist on holding them? They've raised ransom, about 10 million, and all kinds of figures. Of course, security operatives have been calling on parents, don't go the way of ransom. State governments too has said the same thing. But can you really fault the parents? Are they further complicating it?
I can't fault them. I can't. For any parent, the safety of the children is the utmost thing. So that if government or security agencies do not want them to do anything to compromise the case, they must work with them. And why did I say work with them? It also goes back to this question of how much information do you reveal. If you're helping me to look for my children, and you just keep assuring me for 30 days that we are on it, my children are not here with me. You are not telling me, even to an extent, what you are doing, so that can give me the confidence that I have to calm down, that something could come out of it. There must be a means, and the government must create it, because the agency must create it, through which the parents and representatives of the public, can be regularly updated, as to the effort security agencies are making. And that also can also reinforce this public confidence we are talking about. Because when you work with people and the parents, you can also have that a means, of doing sensitization of the public towards achieving what we talked about the other time. How can Nigerians, while in the vicinity of these kidnappers, avail security agencies of information that they may have, that they may think is not important, or they do not have to take actions on.
Exactly.
But when you work with the parents and you work with members of the public, selected for that purpose, civil society organizations and co, you can find a means, of beginning to rebuild that confidence.
There is this neighborhood watch agency that has been, or the neighborhood watch. It is voluntary. What would be their role in this kind of situation where they are on the ground, they are in the, within the streets, they're everywhere to collect information?
7,000 strong. I wonder if you ask a typical Lagosian if they've seen a neighborhood watch official.
But sometimes
I wonder what the answer would be.
I've seen them though.
Okay.
But we hope that they will make a difference, because if they do their work well, it can be possible that such kind of agencies who are close to the grassroots, could easily gather information that the traditional security agencies cannot gather. But it all boils down to one thing. It's about sincerity. It's about the government that actually wants to produce results. Don't forget that we have always had the experience in this country that when such structures are created, they are often turned to another means of levying the people, taxes and co. And when they become repressive, and they have that connotation of repression, the bond that they may have with the public becomes truncated. And that is why you have a situation where the public will not believe in them and will not be able to avail them.
But one would expect that this neighborhood watch, for example, would actually emanate from the communities where they are expected to watch or provide information for the police and all of that. They shouldn't be strangers to those communities.
That's how it should be for a government that takes people into confidence. If we want to have a neighbor, because we have traditional means of security before.
We have the vigilante, the original vigilante within
people that
communities.
you know, some of them are landlords, so that if anything happens, you can easily trace them. And that's how a serious government should work. But the day I saw this neighborhood watch, I was going to my own house, and I just, apparently that was the day they gave them the new, they inaugurated them, so they were excited, and they were even driving against traffic. And I was thinking, who are these people? Branded vehicles.
Blue vehicles.
It was only the next day when I read the report of the inauguration that I understood what I experienced the day before. Which is why I said that. But we've had the experience of last month and co. If they turn to repressive agencies like others, or agencies for levying people, for repressing people, they would lose, they would not be able to accomplish anything. So that,
and then the trust and the confidence of the public will be lost. Okay. Hassan Taiwo, National Coordinator, Education Right Campaign, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
We hope the next time we'll see.
We'll be talking about the children being rescued. We hope so.
I hope so too.
Right.